This gentleman in the back. Or is it
I
next
just
one?
want, actually have to go to another event, but I just want to thank you for Olivia bringing us on and our speakers. It's amazing what work you're doing. But there was a question about how people can engage. There's something called the Canadian Youth Climate Coalition, and I was in DC in February, and there was 12,000 youth in Washington for PowerShift, a large event of this kind in history around climate action. And there's going to be PowerShift Canada in October. And it's also training young people and adult allies. There's 100 Canadians in DC, and there are lots of old people, young people, all working together around Copenhagen is one of the issues. And part of PowerShift Canada is to train people and send them to Copenhagen. So I'm not sure how to link in. Maybe I'll just email you.
Yeah, please.
More, but I have to run. But thanks.
That's
Let me
great.
make one comment about your group.
Please.
In both in Africa, Bali, Poznan, the pound for pound effect of young people being at these events and is incredible, because we sort of look like all the people organizing the event, but when 20 young folks show up and say, "This is our world we're about to inherit, we expect the best," it just has a much more powerful.
In Poznan there were 2,000.
Yeah.
It was really quite incredible.
2,000?
Yeah, very, very effective youth movement.
I have to leave early too. I'm really sorry.
Speak up a bit.
I just wanted to make sure somehow that I have these 5 ministers' names to write to. I'm not quite sure who they are.
We will listen.
And on the same token, I'm thinking of Avaz, which is an organization that sends it. And I'm thinking somebody should write a letter like they do, send it out to like everybody, and all you have to do is sign and then forward it to friends. And surely, like, that would be better than each of us sitting down and writing one letter from, I don't know, everybody's busy and so on, but it makes it so easy.
If you're a member of Avaz, if you're on their list, then you could suggest to them that they take this up, because they have about, I knew the number at one point, but it's about 300,000 Canadian members.
Yeah.
And so they could actually try to get
I don't think I'm the one to do it because I'm not that clear about it, but somebody like one of our speakers could definitely, I'm just not sure I'm equipped to do that. I don't know enough about
Give that a whirl. We know the Avaz folks, and
but even we could do our own of that, like, just, I don't know.
What is Avaz?
It's a email, it's an electronic-based campaigning organization, so they'll put out sample letters, so they'll put targets. And
they're very quick, and what they do when these meetings come together is they can pour in 500,000 emails within a couple of days, and we bring them in.
What they did on Bali, they actually used Canada as an example, and then they did a big drive, and I think it was like 500,000, boom, just at the Prime Minister's email, like that. And it was phenomenal. I saw it happening, I signed on, I told everybody, and then just,
obviously we're not making an impression yet.
So like they would need the 5 ministers' names in order to do something like that. That's why I think maybe you're the one to write that. But we should also at least have the names.
we'll have the names up in a few minutes. There's a petition that's over here, by the way, that you can sign before you go. This gentleman in the back been waving their hands in blue shirt, dark blue shirt, right over you. Yes.
I think I might have lost my point.
You lost your point.
One of the things I was going to
And the
say.
gentleman beside you.
One of the things that I was going to say in regards to the building is opinions on building skinning. I know there was a huge initiative being put on by Zero Footprint, and thoughts about it. I guess the technology is not there yet, but do you think this is a plausible solution to the buildings that these gentlemen were speaking about?
Yeah, no question. I was there when they announced it, and I think this skinning is fantastic. Not only does it add a layer on the outside in terms of insulation, but it allows you to install geothermal in buildings where you can't redo the inside. It's too expensive. You can pull the geothermal piping up the side of the building. It's a brilliant idea.
Those that have your hands up right there? Yeah. No, you haven't spoken yet. Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that really distressed me about the last federal election campaign was that the NDP and the Liberals were essentially putting forward contradictory climate change proposals. what is being done in Parliament right now between your parties to make sure that you go into the election with one common Canadian climate change consensus? Because,
Spotlight suddenly hit me.
well,
Yeah.
because I mean, from an average person's point of view, you're doing exactly what the media circus did 5 years ago by essentially creating confusion about what needs to be done. And it was the most disappointing thing I've ever seen. I'm usually quite supportive, but I was really disappointed with that. What can be done, and can we help you guys get your act together on that point?
One small thing, the thing that erupted was around the pricing of carbon, whether it was going to be a carbon tax or the cap and trade system. The thing that always confused me about this debate is I've met with ministers from most of the European Union who have gone through this a lot longer than we have. We're the only country I know of that has invested so much time and effort into the pricing mechanism on carbon that most other countries either have a mix or they've gone with one, predominantly cap and trade, but regardless, they haven't gotten themselves all caught up in which particular pricing mechanism to use, a mix or a cap or a tax. Canada, we fell into this thing and we try to get ourselves out of it, frankly. We had language going into the election that said we are open to the debate, we need to price carbon. That's the point, right? If we're gonna sit here fiddling while Rome burns as we debate which mechanism is most accurate and most effective, and no mechanism is applied at all, right? Which is the case right now.
Yeah.
Nobody wins in that scenario. I'd say that the heat of the election itself led to one day in which there was divergent, but I think, frankly, in terms of going, I'm not sure what Michael Ignatieff is going to be on this, actually. I'm still kind of waiting for him to, I spoke to one of his senior advisors last week and I said, you guys got to come out on a price on carbon and buy into this bill we have or not. And he said, this is no time for policy, it's time for power. And I said, uh-oh, that sounds dangerous. What does that mean? And he went up to the tar sands and says, tar sands are a national unity issue. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. So Ignatieff's trying to distance himself from Dion right now politically and say, I'm not like the guy before me, which is obvious to the casual observer, but is also disowning some of those green credentials, which was Dion's strength. So I'm still trying to feel out where the Liberals are when I'm dealing with them in Parliament. So when you ask about the next election, there's a bit of a question mark for me still. Do I want to enter into that fricas again about a carbon tax versus cap? No. Some of those decisions are not entirely left to me. But the point of it is, and that's why we're trying to make this bill non-partisan. We tried to get the Liberals to co-sign it when we introduced it into the Parliament. We said, what do you guys, when do you want to come in and sponsor this bill with us so everybody gets their fingerprints on it right away? They said no, okay. Now we're at the stage where we need to push it through, because that's where the rubber hits the road. You know, it's are you willing to sign on to law that we put into Parliament that will direct us somewhere? But it is an unhealthy.
You have to go.
Oh yeah,
okay.
we've gone.
Okay,